How you going, guys? Today we're down at Treadworx. We're getting some new tyres and new wheels for the 80 series, getting some Beadlocks. So before we just, one, have a good look at them because they're sick, but two, we're going to go over everything Beadlocks, imitation Beadlocks. What are they? Should you get them? Are they for your application? Do you need them? So come in and we'll have a geek. So the 80's up on the hoist at the moment. Here's the new wheels. Oh, big boys. Voila. So they're a 35-inch razor on Dirty Life Beadlock rims. These are the neg 14s and 17-inch rim. They're the new ones. And these are the old ones. So these are 305, so just a bit smaller on the steel rim. Still in 17, but the size is not heaps, but they are a bit bigger. But the main thing is they are a lot wider, so she's going to look fat, which is going to be awesome. So can't wait to see these things on the car because it's going to look unreal.
And what are we doing to imitation beadlock?
Well, Nathan's been kind enough to give us permission to take a 9-inch grinder to one of his brand new rims in his shop so we can cut it in half and have a look at imitation beadlocks and see. Apparently he wants to show people some stuff, so we'll find out. We'll find out a bit later. This is why I think Nathan's the #1 tyre guy going around. Because when have you ever been to a tyre place and you're watching your car get done and then afterwards they go with a torque wrench and actually torque them to spec? Like that one. Like, yeah. Like everyone else, a little bit zip zip with a rattle gun, that's it. But not Nathan, because he cares.
These shank ones are a bit.
Because he cares. And Adam would know all about correct wheel nut tightening.
I do know all about it.
Yep.
I'm paranoid.
Yeah. After that incident, Adam bought himself one, and then Adam bought me one for Christmas.
And what was worse is that I already had one.
Oh, you already had one?
Yeah.
Did you use it?
No.
Oh, that's why.
Should have used it.
She's fat. She's very fat. Well, they're all fitted up, and I reckon they look absolutely amazing. It's been a long time coming because there hasn't been any stock of these in the country for a very long time, but they're finally here. You happy with them? I'm happy with them.
I'm just happy to finally have got them on the car and get them out of my life. So, yeah.
Yeah, they've been also taking up space in his factory for a while,
yeah,
so
bit tight.
He's happy to get rid of them. So pretty much, I put the call out on Instagram a couple of days ago, trying to get a few questions because there is a few questions people have about them. To start with, sort of explain what does a beadlock do and why is it different to a normal rim?
Well, a standard rim has basically like behind where the bead of the tyre is a raised section, so it basically just sort of sits on there. And it all just goes on fairly straightforward on the machine. Where these, essentially, if you remove this outer ring by removing the bolts, you'll see the exposed edge of the bead of the tyre, and behind that on the actual wheel is like a base that it sits. So it just means that once the bolts have done up, it pinches the beads in between the two bits, so allowing it not to be, well, removed from the rim at low pressure.
Yeah, so you can run, pretty much you can run much lower pressures than you can.
Yeah. So this ring and the rim are now under pressure, sandwiching the bead of the tyre, stopping it from going anywhere. So you can't push it in and you can't remove it with a tyre machine or anything like that without,
So when you're smacking in the ruts and stuff, it's not going to pop off as easy.
No. And although it's only on the outside, you're pretty unlucky to do it on the inside because generally to remove a tyre on a standard wheel, there's shortly after that raised bit I discussed, it drops down so that you can pop the tyre on and off the wheel. On the inner edge, it tapers off a lot slower, so it takes a lot more to blow the inside edge off. And generally it's ruts pushing against it.
So it's not too much of an issue not having it locked on the inside.
No.
So the #1 question everyone's sort of been asking, because, well, it's hard to sort of find out this information because people ask, are they legal or are they illegal, sort of thing. So unfortunately, it's pretty illegal. It's just the risk you got to take. So you got to sort of weigh that up. So, but at the same time, when you put 35s on your car, also illegal. I'll leave that one up to all you guys at home to decide whether you're comfortable with that or not.
This is for off-road use only.
Yeah, off-road use only. So,
No.
so yeah, you can't legally run them on the roads, and from what we've figured out, you can't get them engineered even if you try. So, unfortunately, even though I would say it's safer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose that's the other thing is people are asking, can you get them fitted at any tyre shop? Pretty much.
No, sort of starting to see where you run-of-the-mill sort of chain type guys, just they don't. It can be time consuming compared to fitting and balancing a set of these. Compared to a standard rim is a lot more time consuming. There's a little bit of a sort of knack to it. If you stuff it up, you're in trouble. So
yeah, I think that's sort of.
I think they prefer to stay away from it. Yeah. So
there's a lot of people say they can do it, but there's been a lot of horror stories of them just literally de-beading as they roll onto the freeway and stuff like that. So or even just I saw someone's post and they had the tyre shop. He bought beadlocks and everything. They fitted it just to the back of the rim, like a non-beadlock rim, and they just popped off the first time he let all the pressures down really low. So not every tyre shop will definitely cover that. And I'm assuming that if you were fitting beadlocks, there's probably costs a bit more. So
there's, I mean, look, the disadvantages of it are that one, they're not legal. Two, not everyone wants to play around with them, and sort of three, there is an added expense to it, just because of the time factor and that sort of thing. So damage something, or you need to get a puncture repair, you put a stick or a nail or something through it, then it becomes, sort of a half an hour job, half an hour, 40-minute job, sort of, rather than a 10-15 minute job to do a puncture repair, so you get charged accordingly. And then there's the expense of the rim. So if you were to, you'd be probably looking at 2/3 to half the price for a rim that was very similar styled in a non-beadlock. Pros
and cons to everything, pretty much. The same with everything four-wheel drive, really. There's always a pro and a con. Like, you want a sick touring setup, it's going to weigh too much to go hardcore four-wheel driving, and you'll break lots of stuff. So that's the other thing is there are different types. So we got, these are an aluminium beadlock, but you can get steel beadlock rims. And that's another thing that people were sort of wondering is what's sort of better? Would you go an aluminium beadlock or would you go a steel beadlock?
Oh, look, different horses for different courses, I suppose. When you go a quality aluminium beadlock like this and a quality steel radialed tyre, when you marry them together, you can quite easily dynamically balance them, which means you can tour on them and not get vibrations on the highway and that sort of stuff. So typically speaking, if you're going to run sort of a bias ply tyre and you're going to go bashing and crashing into things, then putting a steel one in is going to be, well, it's just more cost effective. And if you break one, damage one, bend it out in the track, similar to a standard Sunraysia, you're going to be able to get the hammer out to it and do a bit of doctoring on the track. So when you're looking at,
you can't bash that back with
the best part of $600 a wheel, you don't always want to go pelting it into things.
Which would you say would sort of be stronger though? Because I have actually bent a steel beadlock rim, like the ring on it before, and had to bash it back. But
typically speaking, alloy is stronger, but you get one hit at it, if you hit it hard enough. Where steel, you can sort of go back and forth a couple of times, and if you're not too fussed about it, once you've sort of put a ding in alloy, some people will re-roll things, but they're generally never as strong or as good ever again, you know what I mean?
Another thing you touched on just before is, do they make any difference when you're driving them on the road, like balancing wise and stuff like that? Like if you were going to have it as a daily sort of setup,
not that it's legal.
What?
Not that it's legal.
Not that it's legal, but if you were going to have it,
if you were driving them in Mexico, So look, if you were going to daily them, I would definitely recommend spending the extra money on an alloy. So steel wheels in general are rolled and pressed, and there's always imperfections. Where these things are obviously machined hubs and they're a lot more accurate, so they centralise better on the car and all that sort of stuff. So as an average rule, if you wanted to put bias ply 37s on, for instance, and they were just to go to Talangi and things, then I would probably just run a steely and take the wheels on and off as I needed them. If you wanted to daily them, then I'd go a steel radial tyre. And a quality alloy. Like, I mean, look, I've run them myself. They balance up fine and they run, 100, 110, no vibration, just as good as a standard sort of alloy. So
as long as you fit them all correctly and balance them right, it should be right. And then as long as your rims
Good. Yeah, because I do get that question a bit too. Oh, can they be balanced? And like I said, they are hard with bias ply stuff because they tend to move around a lot more. They get warm and then they throw themselves out a bit. And typically speaking,
when you're saying like bias ply, you're talking sort of like out treps and stuff like that.
Things
sort
like
of
treps,
not the stuff you'd normally run on the road. So they're a bit more spongy.
Yeah, so with the absence of the steel radial on that, they basically become more pliable, which is fantastic for off-road because the tyre will just conform to the track and offer better grip.
A bit more bendy.
But yeah, a bit more bendy in the corner when you sort of got a touring rig and you're doing 100 k's around a corner is not really what you want. I mean, look, plenty of people do it. But it is what it is. It is what it is, yeah. So, and look, I always find that because the bias ply stuff is, like the Beadlocks, not legal, and it's for competition use or off-road use only, the manufacturing quality doesn't always seem to be there, so you end up with a big heavy spot. So you end up trying to balance a rim that wants 300, 400, 500 grams in one spot, like we got with your Silverstones. they were a bit of fun. But so you just sort of, you end up and that sort of thing. So I wouldn't recommend going to Fraser Island with a set of bias pliers on. Shake your fillings out of your teeth by the time you get there.
Fair enough. Another question people were sort of asking was sort of is there a certain size of tyre that you'd sort of reckon you'd need to have Beadlocks on? Like, if you had the 33, for instance, would you run a Beadlock on that?
Oh, look, in a 15, you could probably get away with the 33. Yeah. I mean, look, you can do it on anything you want, and it will offer that not being able to blow the tyre off the bead sort of thing, but
you can't go down as low in pressure,
for instance, if you were running a 17 with a 32 on a Hilux, which I do get asked about, the only benefit is that you're not going to blow the tyre off. You wouldn't be able to go down to 8 psi because obviously as your profile shrinks and you're dropping the pressures, you're more likely to continue just to
smash your rim on the ground.
Smash on the rim on the ground. And then you find yourself, you can still damage around the tyre there because you're sandwiching the tyre between whatever you're running into and the rim. So
there's not like a set pressure you can sort of go down to with. It sort of depends on your tyre size and stuff like that. How much sidewall gap you got, I guess. Yeah,
look, there's always exceptions to the rule, but generally speaking, not even just with Beadlocks and stuff, I get asked a lot. It comes down to the construction of the tyre, whether it's 10 ply rated, 8, 6, 3 ply sidewalls, how rigid they are, and what sort of weight you're running in your car, and the profile size that you're actually running. So if you've got a 3.5 ton Hamburger with a lot GU Tourer and you're running 16s with a 315, you're like a 35, then you'd sort of end up running, maybe into the 45s and possibly above, in the rear when you're towing and things. But when you're running, say, an unladen Hilux with 32s, at that pressure you get a lot of road feedback, and it'd probably be a bit, so I normally say we generally set as a default the pressure's at about 40 psi just for daily use, but your window is sort of between the 35 to 45 psi, and it is sort of tailored to the specific weights and profile tyres of the vehicle. There's no real there's ballpark sort of answers, but there's no real These, for instance, I mean, I wouldn't have any problem going down as far as say 8 on the sand, because you're not likely to encounter rocks and I suppose you are certain places like Fraser and stuff, but generally speaking, if you really wanted to get out of somewhere, but I suppose for like Talangi bashing with a fair amount of rocks and Tallarook and places like that, probably start at 12 and
see how it goes.
10, 12, probably wouldn't see too much below that.
Because that is how I sort of rode off one of my steel Beadlock rims once. I went down to 8 psi on a 35 to start with. Rocky track, first rock, rim straight into the rock and smash it to pieces. It's sort of tyre size dependent. So on the 37s and stuff, we normally just, because the party starts at 8, so we let them down to 8 psi. But that's got obviously a lot more sidewall than a 35 does. So
you got that buffer.
We'll have to figure out where the party starts on a 35. People sort of wonder, like, what is a fake beadlock? Because you hear beadlock and then you hear fake beadlock as well. So is that what's sort of that setup?
Fake beadlocks,
That's just to get
generally your Ranger jet ski pull-ups. That's your sort of oh look, they're just an aesthetics thing. So
sort of a way to get the look, but keeping your car legal, I guess.
Yeah, there are issues with those. It does add a lot of, surprisingly enough, it adds a considerable amount of weight to the outer edge of the wheel. Given the ridge that's in them too, they can be a bit finicky to get the weights in there and get them balanced up properly.
Yeah. We are going to cut up one of these so you can have a gaze at it later. So
yeah, they have one fundamental flaw, is that the rim itself is a single piece that's bent out.
Yeah.
And as it bends over, you end up behind the bolts with a cavity. Unlike this, where the cavity, there's nothing really there, so you could quite easily wash that out, any dirt.
Yeah.
With an imitation, the dirt falls into, there's a little slit and it falls into the cavity, and it sort of rolls around, and as a result have a lot of balancing issues where once you've gone through a track, got a bit of dirt and mud and stuff and rocks and bits and pieces, it shifts around, so we can rebalance it. But if stuff's shifting around, it won't give us an accurate balance. And they're very hard to clean to get all the stuff out again. So
that's mainly the steel fake beadlocks, isn't it?
Yeah, still fake beadlocks. Yeah. If people are just doing aesthetic reasons and they're not really doing any tracks and that sort of thing, then it's not really an issue. But people that are full driving regularly, I mean, I had them on my car briefly 3 or 4 years ago.
I've also run them as well, and I think they stayed on my car for about 2 weeks because I was over them.
I had them on for a couple of months, and then every time I hit a track and then try and drive home, I'd just get the shakes and bad, and try and clean them out of the car wash as best as possible.
You never have a clean wheel. I mean, even with these, I reckon I'll be struggling to keep these clean because you just get mud and like a little bit of mud in it, and then it's just sort of, you drive off and you get muddy rims all.
Yeah, you think it's spanking clean, and then you go 10 minutes up the road and it's shot dirt all over the place again. These, like I said, these aren't too bad, but I suppose the other thing is to mention with these, particularly Dirty Life, but there has been some other issues with other brands. These ones, because of the razors, are fitted with a spacer ring. Otherwise, you either don't marry up the ring properly, or you over torque the bolts and you end up with bolt snapping and things.
That's sort of another question we got, is can you fit beadlocks to any tyre? But I suppose you need to know what you're talking about.
Well, look, the boys at Dynamic seem to think that the real two that are issue are razors and Mickey Thompson MTZs. There may be others, but they're the ones that have the thickest bead, and as a result need a spacer. Otherwise, you over tighten the bolts and you end up with all sort of issues. So
because I see people do fit them without the rings, but then they're probably going to have problems with the bolts snapping and stuff later on, I would imagine. You would definitely over tighten them, and because you see a lot of people getting around with there's bolts. The bolts do snap if you do something wrong.
And look, technically these are supposed to be re-torqued. You sort of want to run over them again after 100 Ks, and then probably every sort of 3 to 6 months before a big trip or something, just to double check them. But I mean, look, I had mine on for just under a year. I checked them 3 times, and they never moved from the original thing. But better to be on the safe side. It's the same with the wheel nuts here. You're best to check them within 100 Ks. Any new wheel and new wheel nut, you know, we always recommend to our customers, particularly with steelies where they wear off the paint and then they back off a little bit, just to go over them again, because losing a wheel is no fun for anyone.
No, it isn't. Or even your friends that have to chase it down the bush somewhere.
You spend 3 hours down an embankment looking for a wheel.
And then trying to find wheel nuts.
I never put that wheel on, by the way.
No, it wasn't you. It was me.
As a torque wrench, didn't want to use it.
Yep.
You don't need beadlocks to go out to the high country, and you can even do you can do hard tracks without beadlocks. It just sort of makes it a little easier, I would say. There's less risk of them popping off. You can let the tyres down more, which means a lot more traction, because once you start getting to low pressures, every 2 PSI you let out, that's a massive difference. There's so much percentage of the air out, you get a much bigger footprint. But you just got to weigh up all the factors. So if you got to really think about, is it for you, or do you just want the looks? Because there is a lot of cons to it, I'd say.
And if you're just after the looks, in the alloys there are a lot of good wheels that have got that imitation look, that don't have the same problem as the imitation steelies, so you can still get that look and not.
Pretty much just comes down to personal preference and stuff. You don't need them. You definitely don't need them. So I don't want people to say, "Oh, Sam's got them, so we're going to need to get beadlocks." You definitely do not need them, but you can have them. And if you need them, Nathan's your guy. So, because a lot of people struggle. They're like, I get messages a lot like, where do you buy Dirty Life from? And I'm like, oh, Facebook Marketplace. They pop up every now and then for a good price. But if you are looking for dirty lofts, even methods, anything. They're so hard to get, but if you just speak to Nathan at Treadworx, he can pretty much get most
Oh yeah,
rims.
look, I mean, look, everyone gets most of these things from one sort of wholesaler, so it's a case of, yeah, we can get them in just as easy, and we do our best to do the sharpest prices around. So
definitely come speak to Nathan, especially on Max's stuff. It's just, trust me, you have to talk to him. It's much cheaper. If pretty much anyone buys it anywhere else, you're getting ripped off. So
Pretty much.
Thanks for having a chat to us about explaining what a beadlock actually is and what the go of it is and the pros and cons. So
no dramas. So and look, at any of the viewers or whatever have any other questions, they're more than happy to give me a call and we can discuss if they've got any other specifics they want to go through with it.
No, that sounds good. I've been itching for this. I'm getting a big grinder out and we're going to cut one of Nathan's brand new rims up. So thanks Dad. Don't know that I'm borrowing this yet, but I'm borrowing it. So this is your fake beadlock rim. So you can get the steel beadlock rims look pretty much exactly the same to these. So, but as you can see, there is a lot of this gap down in here. The bolts stick out. That'll catch. This pretty much basically fills with mud if you go four-wheel driving. But Nathan was saying there's a bit of a gap.
Yeah, you can actually see perforated holes where they know that there's an issue.
Yeah, on the top.
And they try and they just
tiny little drain holes.
Try and drain holes for the water and stuff, but it just
So, but I'm pretty keen to cut this open and see.
You're welcome to do it because I feel like I'm going to lose a limb. The old Widowmaker, the 90.
The pinnacle of safety.
Alright. Rule number 1, don't cut the cable.
Rule number 2,
Don't cut your face.
don't follow this, what he's doing.
How many people are going to tell me how to use 9 and driving?
All of them, because
yeah, I cut on a bit of an angle. That's why I don't work at Razzler. I've been wanting to do that for a while. It's been pretty fun.
So this is the cavity that we're talking about.
Oh yeah, that's actually quite big.
So it nearly joins there. So it sneaks in, but there's quite a little bit of area there that you
that just fills up with mud and dirt and stuff and just unbalances your rim.
Yeah. So
that's actually a lot bigger than I thought it was.
And as you can imagine, trying to get a gurney or anything in there, around there, and try and clean these out is near impossible.
Fake steel beadlock rims, not all they're cracked up to be.
no good.
So
I've been meaning to do that because I tend to try and talk people out of these things, particularly if they're going off-road with them. So now I've got a visual aid.
Yeah. Hopefully that gives everyone a bit of an insight to beadlock rims and what they are and what they're capable of and the negatives, the positives and all that. So obviously can't thank Nathan enough for helping us fit up these wheels and having a little chat with us about them all. So hope that answers all your questions. So thank you all for watching and we'll catch you guys in the next one. See you guys there.
That's real bad.
Oh yeah.
That's real bad.
That's straight.
No, it's not.
What? I could work. No, I couldn't.
No, you couldn't. Don't kid yourself.
Got my coffee on the car floor. What's more, Triple J, ignorance today.